Hi, everyone. My name is Marquez White. I'm the founder of Athletes at Practice, where we are trying to bridge the gap between the student athlete experience and the pursuit of a career in medicine. We are doing this by interviewing healthcare leaders who are former student athletes and having them share their experiences of how their athletic career has impacted their journey in medicine and how some of the skills that they developed while they were student athletes have directly translated to the successes of their medical careers. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Grace Wakabayashi. She was a former All American swimmer at NYU, and now she is a third-year medical student at Loyola University of Chicago Stritch School of Medicine. Grace, thank you so much for finding the time in your busy schedule to do this interview with me today. I would love to start by having you share a little bit about your experience as an NYU swimmer and how that undergraduate experience that you had kind of led to your career in medicine.
My story. Let's see. So I went to NYU for undergrad and I got into college through my sport, basically,
Nice.
which is swimming. And so I was so focused going into college on how I can be the best swimmer. How am I going to contribute to this team? I want to get better. I want to reach this level in terms of athletics. And that is what I was focused on. And so when it came time to say, okay, well, what are you going to do for the rest of your life in terms of jobs? I wasn't quite sure. I had always liked medicine in general. I come from a family that is heavy in medicine. My dad's a physician, my mom is a nurse, and so it's always been there.
Mhm.
But I think there was this idea that I wasn't smart enough to do it. So in college, I chose to major in gender and sexuality studies because I knew that I was interested in how the female athlete experience has shaped my own life and what could I learn more about that. But when it came time to do projects and write papers, I always found myself gravitating toward medicine related topics that impact women
Mhm.
just because that felt weirdly familiar to me.
Interesting.
So if I was taking a class that was focusing on the intersection of the Latinx community, specifically female identifying people, and their struggles in the South, I would then write about cervical cancer rates and how they disproportionately affect that group of people. And I really enjoyed that. I started learning more about activist groups like ACT UP, which was in the 80s and 90s, that was focusing on the AIDS and HIV crisis. And everything I did always came back to medicine.
Mhm.
And so I decided, why don't you just go for it? So I entered the pre-med track a little late in the game. And while all that was going on, I was still so focused on swimming. Like, what can I do to make NC2As? Like, how am I gonna better myself in my events? Um, I was doing practices twice a day, doubles.
Just interrupt you for just a second. I
Yeah.
think I looked at your bio when you were an NYU swimmer, and all those practices and all like everything you did pay off. I think pretty big time because I would share all your accolades, but I opened it up and I was like, oh my goodness, there's way too many to read here. And there might be some that they're missing on the bio, but All American every year you swam and then continuously setting personal bests. Like I was really impressed right when I opened. I was like, how do I share all this over like
Oh,
a meeting?
I,
Like it would take too long. But no, it was super impressive when I did open it up.
well, thank you. But I will say I'm not the best athlete to ever exist. I wasn't the best athlete at NYU by any means or on the swim team. But because of the time I was committing to it, I just like wanted to go all in and I wanted to reach the best that I could
Yeah.
in that sense. But it hurt my academics, let me tell you. Um, I just wasn't a strong student and I didn't know how to balance practice and studying. And I would see my peers in my science classes, and we were at just different levels. And I was able to scrape by, and that was okay. And I was able to find success in swimming. But then when all of that came to an end, I had to like sit down and say, well, how am I going to get into med school now? Because I'm not competitive right now. And that's what led me to KGI.
So, for those of you who don't know, KGI is a graduate school that is a part of the Claremont Colleges Consortium. So, a part of the Harvey Mudd, Pomona, Pitzer, all those schools. KGI is a part of that consortium, and they offer PhD programs, master's programs. They have a PA school, a lot of higher education programs. And this school, a lot of their higher education students end up going to work in industry. So they go work in big pharma companies, medical device companies, life science consulting, more the industry side of healthcare. They have also added a post-bac program. And this is the post-bac program that Grace and myself attended as graduate students. A lot of students do a post-bac program like this so that they can make themselves more competitive as medical school applicants. And what makes KGI unique is that their curriculum is very medical device heavy, pharmaceutical heavy, biotech, more of the industry side of healthcare, which as a physician, I think is very important and very applicable. And it's also very different from your typical pre-med curriculum, which might make a student stand out on an application. Anyways, Grace, what was your experience like at KGI, and would you recommend a program like this one to other student athletes who might be in a similar position?
Yes, so it was a very interesting time coming off of 15 years of a competitive sport and now not doing that sport and having all of this time. And now my only thing was school, and I could fully commit to it in a way that I never felt that I was able to. Not to say that you can't do your amazing Division 1 highest level sport, go to the Olympics, go to medical school. There are people who do that. I'm just not one of those people. So I needed to step away from swimming to find how I could be successful in academics, and that's what KGI allowed me to do.
Super cool. I think now, Grace, I might be speaking for you, but it sounds like you're like an all-in type of person. Like during undergrad, like swimming, you were all in, like, and you crushed it. You did. You crushed it. Like you were all-American many years, and you really sunk your teeth into swimming. And then when you did step away, you obviously are in medical school now, so you must have crushed it at KGI because you probably took that same mentality from swimming where you go all in, you want to be the best swimmer you possibly can. And you succeeded at that. And then now you fast forward a year and you're at KGI. You also sunk your teeth into like academics. You did the best you possibly could there, and now you're in medical school and you succeeded at that, obviously.
That's so kind of you to say. I will say it is a personality trait of mine to do things 100%, which can be a flaw also. But it helped me get to the point where I was able to apply to medical school. But I also think that going all in on things, um, I'm able to do it because I'm passionate about it. Like I was very passionate about swimming, and now I'm very passionate about a future in healthcare and interacting with patients and trying to make the world a better place.
And I think being an athlete was probably a pretty big part of that passion. I don't think everyone has the same passion that you might have, that like an athlete might have more so than the normal student. And you saw that in yourself as an athlete and you applied it, and then now you're applying it in medicine, which kind of leads us nicely to our practice to practice segment, is what I like to call it, practicing in your case, practicing in the pool, now practicing medicine. And it's just the application of athletics to medicine. Are there aspects of the success in your career that you can attribute directly to being a student athlete, whether it be like things that you do in your day to day or habits that you form when you're a student athlete?
I think that being an athlete has allowed me to step up to the plate when things get scary in a way that I directly see that skill that I have come from my background in athletics. I don't know if you've had this experience, but maybe in practice or training, you have to all like line up and someone just has to do something first.
Yeah.
And you don't even think about it. You're just like, I have to do this. Like, this is practice, whatnot. And so when it came time to, I don't know, learning how to change an adult diaper or transferring someone bed to bed or phlebotomy skills, like I don't even think about it. I was like, of course, I'll just go. Yes, you need a volunteer. Okay. Because the hour's gonna be up and I'm gonna need to know this skill. So the fear's just gone. And I think that I attribute that to what I learned in swimming.
Especially swimming, I feel like since it's like a individual sport in a more of a sense than other sports. You're like the spotlight's on you when you're performing. Like there's no one else. You're the man in the arena kind of. And the same case it seems like for medicine. Like you're the one doing it. Everyone's watching you. So that is a great translation over that I haven't heard before. So swimming being more of an individual sport, how does that impact your ability, or have you had to learn a little bit more like working in a team environment? And if I'm completely off on swimming being an individual sport, then please correct me.
Yes, I think that I have played basketball before, so I understand team in that way. And now I have done swimming for so long, and I understand how it is also an individual sport. And I had to think about it for a second because I wanted to really lean into that individual identity that I have in swimming. But the only reason why I could be successful in swimming was because I had a team of people around me allowing me to be successful as that one person who needs to swim that one race.
Hmm.
So it was my coaches, it was my teammates, my parents, all of them helping me get to the place where I could be confident and succeed. And I see that in medicine. This past summer, I spent a lot of time with an OBGYN, and he was the one person who's doing the robotic surgery, but it's the scrub nurse, it's the OR techs, it's his partner at home making sure he has food to eat so he can go run off and do his things. And it's everyone around him that's contributing to his success for his own patient's success. So I think being this individual athlete has taught me that you better be nice to everyone around you. They're the people who are going to directly contribute to your success. Just know who you are and don't think that you can do it alone.
That might even be more applicable than like a team sport. Like you have all these people that are around you, like challenging you, pushing you, supporting you, and then you get to go perform individually like on yourself on game day, which is ultimately like exactly how you described it. Like all these people are supporting you, challenging you, like your fellow med students, your healthcare team, they're all supporting you, challenging you, and then ultimately on like game day, on the day, you have to treat the patient. It's just you. So that seems like even more applicable than other team sports where you're performing as a team, which, it does happen in medicine as well, but that's a super cool application as well. And then the last question I have for you, there are a lot of unique skills that we develop as athletes. Are there any that a pre-med student athlete could leverage to on their medical school application that you might have leveraged on your medical school application being an athlete?
I struggled with this. I think that getting into med school is so hard. And when I look around at my med school class, it feels like everyone is an athlete.
Really?
Yes. Because I think about swimming and I'm like, this is a niche little sport. And then everyone's like, oh yeah, no, I swam, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, really? So there's a character trait that I think a lot of athletes bring to medicine that makes them maybe an attractive applicant. For me, when I reflect back on how I got into medical school, it was because I did something hard. I worked at a care home and, I was one person to four people who had a lot of complex needs. And my shift started at 5 a.m. and I couldn't have done all of that without my background in swimming. So I think that experience got me into med school, but I was only allowed to do that experience because of my background in swimming, which comes back to just putting your head down and working, not being afraid, and just knowing that you have to move forward. And all of the hard work gets done, in the dark. And,
Yeah.
people see like, oh, so you're medical, you got into medical school. But I'm like, oh yeah, when I was, driving at 4 a.m. on a Friday in the dark, in the middle of nowhere, and I would get into the care home and they like someone had spread poop across the mirror, and I'm like,
Oh.
you know what? This is the hard stuff. And swimming has let me, be able to do this. So I think that's how I leveraged my athletic skills in my application.
Instead of like directly in your application, it's more like the skills that you needed to perform showing up at 5 a.m., showing up to like a pretty nasty scene. Um, you couldn't have done that without swim. It's like equivalent to showing up for conditioning at 5 a.m. at the pool. It sounds miserable to other people, but it's kind of the next logical step. Well, those are all the questions I have.
I know a billion athletes. I think your project is so cool. I think I have always struggled to figure out like what is my relationship to my athletic past and my current future in medicine.
Well, I think your story especially is going to encourage a lot of pre-med students who are athletes because you just said like a lot of your colleagues are former athletes as well. There's definitely a trait that we have that makes us very inclined and very successful in medicine. So I hope like we could just share that with a bunch of pre-meds who, being a pre-med is kind of a vulnerable, scary time.
Oh
And
my
you don't know when you're gonna get in med school, like you're just trying to do everything you can. So any little thing to like make, especially a student athlete who were in our shoes as well, like this could be great for anyone watching.